Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Card Talk, where we spend about 10 minutes of your day talking about a card from Lord of the Rings, the living card game, and I'm your host, Dave Walsh.
And I am Grant Thompson, and today we are talking about Boromir, the tactics hero from the Dead Marshes, which is the 5th adventure pack in the Shadow of Mirkwood cycle. And he is a 11-cost threat hero with 1 willpower, 3 attack, 2 defense, and 5 hit points. He has 2 effects. One is to ready Boromir to increase your threat by 1, limited once per phase, and you can discard Boromir to deal 2 damage to all enemies engaged with a player. So, David, what was your first initial thoughts on Boromir?
Well, I guess I have to be as honest with you as I can be here, is that when I first got Lord of the Rings, I never really played tactics. I would play with a friend of mine and me. And he would usually run the tactics, the beat up on the hill troll characters, and I would run the spirit lore, that meta. And so I didn't use Boromir right off the bat. But as my card collection has grown and I've realized how important the Gondor trait is and what Gondor does, I think that Boromir is a pretty solid hero. The only thing that I don't like about my heroes is that and this is general for all heroes and not just Boromir, is that threat of 11, it gives me pause, and I have to think, is it worth having the rest of his stat line in there as a hero with 11 threat? And I would say that generally that 11 threat is definitely worth the stat line with the hit points.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that. I mean, if you team them up with, say, Eowyn for 9 in the spirit version of Glorfindel, you've still got a low threat of 25. It's not as if you're running, say, Boromir, Aragorn, and then Elrond to give you over 30-odd threat.
Right. Yeah, it definitely gives me pause, though. And, some of the more recent cycles, they have that Valor effect.
Yeah, can be of use.
Can be nice to run a Valor. Plus, you can go up to above 40, trigger the effect, and then you can greeting back down to below 40. Or you can use Legolas. You can use the lore Legolas to reduce your threat back to its starting value. And
you mean lore Aragorn?
That's what I mean. Lore Aragorn. That's not what I said. Right. You can use Loragorn. Lore Legolas.
Right, so as we were saying about Boromir, you never really used them. I've got to admit, when I've been using Boromir, which I have done a couple of times, I've liked using him, but I haven't triggered his effects. He's very thematic in the fact of discard him, you deal 2 damage to everything, engage with the player, but I've never actually used that effect.
I love that effect. I think that effect... And you had talked about Eowyn earlier, and if you couple him with, Spirit Eowyn and all the effects that the Spirit Sphere have, and then with Fortune or Fate, I mean, you can kill off Boromir, bring him back, and I think that's a pretty good combo right there.
Yeah, it is, but it's something that I've never actually done. In all my times of playing with Boromir, Eowyn, and another spirit hero, I've never actually said, right, here's Boromir, I've got a load of 2-cost orcs there. I'm going to sack off Boromir and then bring him back like a zombie with Fortune or Fate.
Yeah, I mean, but there are some scenarios where having that effect can really... It's a really good thing to have in your back pocket. I'm thinking of some of the Hobbit, when you're going down to Goblin Town, the mechanic of the stage is to just bring out all sorts of orcs and goblins, and it's possible. Yeah. It hasn't happened to me. I've gotten lucky the couple of times that I've played the scenario but it's possible that you're engaged with 6 or 7 or 8 goblins, and it's
Cava Tomb is another one where you've got a load of goblin swarms or orc swarms, as they're called. Because I don't think they've got the goblin trait. I think they've got the orc trait.
Right. And even just people with the core set, when you have the final stage of the Anduin, the whole point is all those orcs are lined up on the shore trying to kill you. I mean, there's a need sometimes to be able to do it. Whether you do it or not is inconsequential. Yeah. But the need for that is pretty cool.
Like I say, some of the better effects for Boromir are probably Gondorian Shield, Blade of Gondolin, and stuff that boosts his attack and his defense, and also threat reducing effects, likes of, as David said, Galadrim's Greeting, or Elrond's Council if you're running a Noldor or Sylvan character.
Which is, that's Spirit Glorfindel, the 5 threat. You're automatically going to include Elrond's Council in there, I think.
Also for Gondor, if you're running Boromir high in for Gondor, there's an extra +1 defense and +1 attack. That's just a few to name off the bat. So
there's something in me that has a hard time discarding a hero or getting rid of a hero just to trigger some sort of effect. But I will say that Boromir was one of the first heroes, if not the first hero, to have two actual actions that you could take.
Yes. He was definitely the first 2 actions. If he was designed first is another matter, but he was definitely released first. Now, the only other hero I can think of with a discard action that you might want to use is Caldara. But since the errata, I don't think she's worth it anymore.
I just think that Boromir is a pretty good hero when you're trying to construct a deck. I think he's what I would call like a primary hero. You would build a deck around Boromir and his one or both of his actions.
Can you think of any good cards that you would pair with Boromir instinctively, or have I said them all?
I would definitely pair any of the Gondor Rohan couplings, because if I was going to run Boromir, I would probably run Éowyn. Whether it was the Tactics Éowyn and I wanted to just thump enemies, or whether it was the Spirit Éowyn to be able to quest, and then there's
Mutual Accord, I think it is.
Yeah, that's it.
And that is a leadership card. Until the end of the phase, each Gondor card in play gains a Rohan trait, and each Rohan card gains the Gondor trait.
I mean, thematically, that combo is amazing, because that's exactly what happens, and I just got chills down my spine thinking about it. Like at the very end of the movie, at the very end of the book, when they all get together on the battlefield, that thematically...
Rohirrim!
Right. One of the other points that I guess I want to bring up about Boromir is not about Boromir himself, but about the tactic sphere. We've talked about this maybe off screen once or twice, but the tactic sphere is probably the most narrow sphere in terms of what kind of cards they have, in terms of ability, maybe. I think somebody did an analysis of all the cards, and they found that lore, spirit, and leadership provide a bunch of different effects, and tactics really doesn't have that breadth of abilities. It's really just attack, defend, attack, defend, attack, defend, defend.
There's only 1 or 2 actual effects that in tactics could actually be worthwhile if you're running mono tactics, which is like Secret Vigil, that when you destroy an enemy attached with Secret Vigil, lower your threat by that enemy's threat cost. Otherwise, there's just no threat reduction for tactics. I mean, they've got...
I don't even think there's any will boost either.
Not will boost, but you can change the questing from willpower questing to battle questing, and I believe the card is Trained for War.
Right.
That allows you to do that. Yes, Trained for War. Play only if each hero you control has a printed tactics resource icon until the end of the phase. If the current quest does not have siege, it gains battle. That's the only other way that they could get through the quest. For questing, other than tactics version Éowyn, who still has the 4 willpower boost.
Right, she's got the 4 willpower, and right off the rip, you get to lose the 3 threat from her. So, but I still think that if you were going to run tactics Boromir, you're going to end up running Spirit AoE.
Yeah, I agree. With that being said, what is your scale for Boromir? 10 being the worst, 1 being the one to rule them all. Where do you put Boromir?
I think that based on our discussion here, I have to put Boromir as a solid 5 rings, just because, I think he's good. I think he's thematic. I have to give credit to both of his actions. I think that if I'm looking for the one hero to rule them all, or the one card to rule them all, I'm not looking for a tactics hero regardless. So I think that hurts him. I think that, because he's in the tactics sphere, he only has 1 willpower. I think that hurts him. But I think that he still can be a primary hero in a deck.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I too would set Boromir at 5 rings. He's a good hero. I like using him. But where it comes to heroes that I think I want to build a deck around, lately, Boromir just isn't cutting standard. I will always think of running him in a deck, but I will always find someone that could possibly do it slightly better, especially since the errata to his ability of making it once per phase instead of multiple times, especially when you're doing one of the Dwardow cycle where you have to use the tools to get out the cave. I'll stick him at a 5. If he hadn't been a raw, I'd probably put him at a 3, maybe a 4. There's always someone better at the minute.
Yeah, there's always somebody better, especially in this game.
So join us next time when we will be doing Glowing, the leadership character from the core set.
See you then.